This is your business, your brand. You can create it. And if you're an entrepreneur leader in a company with some autonomy, you can create some semblance of boundary around that. Now, you might have to go in the office every day. That may be what it is. But you don't necessarily have to bring all that work home with you. It doesn't have to be your normal. And if you've been following Balance Boldly or even Balance Being for a while, you know that I've been saying forever, your normal does not have to be necessary. Welcome back to the Balance Boldly podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I am Naketa Thigpen, your host and balance and relationship advisor, partnering with you to change the narrative to amplify intimacy within your relationships so you can have the freedom, flexibility, and confidence to thrive in work life and in love. My personal mission for this and every episode of the Balance Boldly podcast is to serve you with the tools you need for moving beyond just barely surviving the burnout of work and life, over those narrow hills of imposter syndrome and through the barriers, preventing you from being and doing greater. We are in week 3 of Selfish September, season 16. I am excited to be here with you guys. It has been an amazing roller coaster ride the last few weeks of just sharing and giving and pouring and making sure that I've been intentionally selfish with me, giving myself my own permission to pause to fill up so that I can pour out without regret and do all the selfless work in the world that I want to continue to do. For those of you who are new to Balance Boldly Podcast, make sure to go over to thigpro.com. We have just a couple weeks left for the waiting list before we open enrollment to the Joy Map Method 100 Days to Thrive Breakthrough System. We want to make sure you get over there because there is a process. You want to get in. You want to make sure you're the first to know. You want to get all the first to be notified savings and pluses and bonuses and perks and all that comes with that. You also need to know that it's still an application-only process that we're going through that includes an interview call. So if you're very serious about making this your year to be at your next level of great self, to, as Sierra would say, to level up, to make sure you're doing all that you know to do so you can have the greatest success, to architect your own success across your work life and in your love, you want to make sure that you get on there to be the first to be notified if you don't know already. Joy Map Method is specifically for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial leaders that are moving through their life feeling kind of half empty, like you've lost your mojo a bit. You've always been in beast mode in your business and or your career, but you're running on fumes and you're at that 60% capacity that for somebody else it's 150, but for you, you know you're working at less than a full tank and you need to recharge, fill up, and give yourself permission to recalibrate and remix what you've known to do things that you actually want to do. Creating those boundaries, creating that balance, healthier relationships, deeper intimacy in your love life. And if you don't have one, we want to spark you. Make sure you get intimate with yourself so that you can attract all that you're supposed to have, that you deserve and you are worthy of having. We want to make sure you have all that. So we're working through quite a few things, like making sure we navigate the labyrinth of those private expectations hindering your growth, creating your work-life balance, simple blueprints that are step-by-step for filling the gaps in your business area, your leadership areas, and your altruistic contributions to society areas, all that stuff that really pulls you forth. We want to make sure that we give you a step-by-step and we're doing it in new ways. So make sure you do that. We only do the Joy Map Method about 2 times a year. And we want to make sure that we do this 100-day Thrive with you in a way that just really propels you in a way that you've never had done before. I know many of you are familiar with coaching programs, advising programs, leadership programs, and all that. This is different. We do have community, and it is not on Facebook. To learn more, go to thigpro.com and sign up and get on the wait list to make sure we can do that. So diving into 3rd week of Selfish September and all of the goodness that is here. Oh my God, I'm like dancing in my seat right now. This has been an amazing last few weeks, like I said. And the reminder for why I decided to talk about this and during this kind of Selfish September, selfish solo, where it's just me and you in this intimate space talking, the reminder for me in the last few weeks has been how amazing it is to give yourself freedom of choice. It's literally your freedom, your choice. If you are living in the United States right now, and with all of the crazy that's on the news and all the political stuff that's hanging over our head that is really difficult to navigate, especially if we come from immigrant community families, first generation immigrants, any of that kind of stuff that you come to, that you're living in. And I am not, intimately familiar with that because I am not a first generation immigrant. I want you to know that I honor how difficult this challenge has been and how close to losing freedom so many people are. And with that said, if you have an opportunity to create your own reality now with the freedoms that you do have and make space for yourself, your dreams, your life, your purpose, your goals, this is what I want to talk to you about today. And I want to keep it brief. It's probably going to be the most succinct that I've done out of all the Selfish September episodes for multiple reasons. But one is because I really want you to grasp it and replay this as many times as you need to hear how important it is to give yourself the freedom and choice you need to not play by other people's rules. If you are an entrepreneur or an entrepreneurial leader that shows up in an organization and you're responsible for what I call like a micro business mindset, where you have to do your own business development. You have to grow your customer base for your division or department within that company. If you're an entrepreneur leader, if you're connected to the growth of the company in a very direct way. I know everyone is connected in an indirect way, but if you're connected in a direct way where you have that heavy hat of having to build the relationships and be authentic and still be fiscally responsible to whatever the bottom line goals are for the company and the markers and kind of work within certain criteria, whether it's legalistic requirements, like if you're in the financial industry and there's certain things you can and cannot do online and all that kind of stuff, or if it's just because of your industry and your own personal integral standards. I get that. I'm not telling you to do anything illegal and to break any of those boxes. Those boxes were created as boundaries to keep everyone safe, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mindset and mind frame that many of us have when you have that kind of autonomy and flexibility in your role as an entrepreneurial leader, especially one who's a careerpreneur that's also creating and growing their passion project business on the side. I don't like to reference them as side hustles because I feel like it kind of taints it, because you want to lose that hustle mentality. You want a growth mindset. You want a growth mentality, and you want to do things in a way that is befitting for you to enjoy the process so that you can align yourself with it and you cannot feel like you're being torn. I was talking to someone earlier today that was really saying, like, listen, like, I'm a careerpreneur, and as much as I'm making moves in my business and I'm getting, some national TV recognition for the things that I'm doing and the impact that I'm having, I still work a 9 to 5. And I'm challenged with being stretched so thin that it's causing me to kind of burn out and make me feel like, I have to give up, time with my kids on Saturdays, and I can't participate in fellowship and different things I want to do on Sundays and early mornings and late nights. And I'm here to tell you that, yes, there are moments, there are times, there are exceptions to the rule that you will have to create those like hyper intense moments, right? But the rule should be that is not your norm. That's why there are exceptions to your new rule, especially if you're an entrepreneur or an entrepreneurial leader that really does. If you took a step back from the chaos and the stress of all that is on your plate and just step back for a little bit, the same way we step back when we're sick and we can't do anything anyway. We step back, Lord forbid, if someone close to us dies, and we just say, forget it. Y'all have to call somebody else. Y'all got to do something else because I'm showing up where it matters the most for me, for my family right now. We step back in these crisis moments, but we don't give ourselves permission to step back when there's not a crisis, to just reflect so we can see what's happening, learn from the lesson, as I've been saying for weeks now, and then to celebrate it. And you celebrate that, especially as an entrepreneur or even an entrepreneur leader who has some autonomy, some flexibility, with taking advantage of this. You could not have that role. You could not have that opportunity to live your life this way. And yes, there are hard days. There are days when you want to say, what am I doing? I'm working with people. It's thankless in some ways, even though I didn't get into it to be thanked on that lay. Sometimes you want to know that you're doing good work instead of people just like using you up or trying to get into your pocket, so to speak, whether that's financial or your network pocket. Sometimes you really just want to know that what you're doing matters. And sometimes everyone, including yourself, is so busy around you that no one stops to just slow down a little bit so that they can speed up effectively, including ourselves. And when we find ourselves in those positions doing that, we often lose our freedoms. And what I had to learn, and which I've been telling you guys for the last few weeks, if you haven't tuned in to the previous last 2 episodes of Selfish September, please do, because it's all linked for this particular month, is really get some perspective on what I had control over versus what I don't. Now, I do believe strongly that we create our own realities, right? Like, I create my balance and I create my joy. I do believe that. But I do that by having deeper intimacy and surrendering to the things that I do not have control over, right? Like, I know it sounds like counterintuitive or juxtaposition. And on some levels, it is, because we're working to walk at a higher level of ourselves, to do things different. That's why this year, for me personally, from September to September, from 2018 September to 2019 September, has been such a different year, because I've broken my own boxes and done things so different. I've allowed people who left or wanted to leave or were pulling to leave and, finding excuses and reasons to cause chaos in my life and my relationships. I allowed them to leave. I let them go. I didn't try to hold on to people that didn't belong there. My bishop used to say, don't make 5-minute people an hour-long conversation, right? Like, if it's supposed to be 5 minutes, let it be 5 minutes. Hopefully it was a good, great, belly chuckling, high intense 5 minutes and you had a good time, but let them go. Don't hold on to people that don't need to be there longer than their season, right? Like, then the season requires for them. And that it goes down to include your products and programs and services if you're an entrepreneur, or things that you're creating within the organization, or ideas that you've just been holding on to for so long because you thought it was going to be the thing that pushed the organization or the business forward. Yeah, it could be, might be, should be, maybe, but maybe not right now. And if it's really not serving you and you feel like it's causing more confusion and chaos in your life than is necessary, let it go. You have the freedom to let go, to forgive yourself, to release yourself from all of it, to remind yourself that you are deserving of every good thing and you are worthy of it all, and then receive the great things that you are worthy of receiving so you can continue to love yourself. Now, what I just gave you was actually some really intense mirror work, and mirror technique is what we call it, that you can do in less than 2 minutes a day if you just kind of say those statements to yourself, that you love yourself, you forgive yourself, you release yourself from all of the negative things and the expectations that were binding you, from all of that, including your expectation to work from sunup to sundown, that you have to work every Saturday and Sunday, that you can't, build a business or a brand that doesn't include a Saturday for the most part, right? Like, again, small exceptions with rules around it, but you do not have to overextend. This is your business, your brand. You can create it. And if you're an entrepreneur leader in a company with some autonomy, you can create some semblance of boundary around that. Now, you might have to go in the office every day. That may be what it is. But you don't necessarily have to bring all that work home with you. They're waiting every day is what I'm saying. I'm not, void to the fact that there are times during audit season and certain projects and where it's really intense. But it doesn't have to be your normal. And if you've been following Balance Boldly or even Balance Being for a while, you know that I've been saying forever, your normal does not have to be necessary. Just because it's normal for every other entrepreneur to say, team no sleep, and I work 7 days a week, and this is what it is, because this is how you build a business, that does not mean it's necessary for you. Because at the end of the day, you're supposed to be breaking boxes and creating something different and showing up with your difference in the world. All of you, embracing all of it. That's what you're supposed to do. And we'll be talking about more of all these topics, because I kind of hit on like at least 8 over the last few minutes, from now into, the end of the first quarter in 2020 for sure. But I wanted to make sure I just left you with your freedom, your choice. You do it and create it the way that you want. And although it might be tighter and not exactly perfect right away, because you got to tweak, you got to train the people around you to get used to this new way that you do things and all of that stuff. It's going to take a little time, a little bit of tweaking. But if you move with the intention, you set that intention to create it that way over time, being consistent and communicating your needs, like what you really need to make this work, all of the harder parts will fall away. They will edge off, and it will become a more polished version of the reality that you're creating when you're creating your joy. So I leave you with that today. I hope that I've been of service to you in this really mini bite Selfish September. It was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I'm glad that I showed up and showed out regardless. I'm grateful that all of you have been tuned in and listening. And of course, as always, if you like what you heard so far, make sure that you continue to subscribe, rate, and share the Balanced Boldly for Ambitious Women in Business and a Few Brave Men podcast with all the other ambitiously bold and brave people that you know, so they can have access to the valuable life, love, and business balance tools I have to offer. So thank you again. Make sure you go to thigpen.com to get on the wait list if you haven't already for the Joy Map Method 100 Days to Thrive Breakthrough System. Get in it. And if you want to connect with me at Ask Naketa everywhere on social, IG, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, or email me at asknaketa@thigpen.com. In the interim, just go create your balance, create your joy, but remember to do it boldly. Thank you for listening.